Okay, so I'm just going to do a short video on 3 to 4 prompts here, just to give you an idea of how I would interpret this. So I want to go over just real quick to what extent that means to consider the merits or otherwise of an argument or concept. Opinions and conclusions should be presented clearly and supported with appropriate evidence and sound arguments. So you take an argument at this question, and then you talk about the merits and the weaknesses of the argument, what your opinions of it are, and that can be an opposite take of the one that you have presented first. And then in your conclusion, you really need to draw specific ideas of what you think about how successful the attempts at hemispheric cooperation were. Now, it gives you a time frame prior to and during the Second World War, so you could compare those two. You could say that there was more cooperation during or after the war, or you could break it down with the idea of economic, diplomatic, and military, or strategic. I like strategic better because only Brazil sent troops to fight in the war, so the strategic positioning that the different countries gave them. So you could talk about what it means, or the level of cooperation. Now, it is also, there's two things that you really have to define in this prompt, and that's successful and hemispheric cooperation. So by successful, if by successful you mean what? So do you mean that that it benefited the United States? Do you mean that it benefited both countries? Do you mean that it benefited the Latin American country? It helped the United States fight the war? What exactly is successful as far as cooperation? Cooperation, like that both parties matter, that they were able to come to some type of conclusion or some type of meaningful action. Because when we look at meaningful action, well, we look at the Declaration of Panama, we look at the Act of Havana, we look at those different things that they did together in the meetings, the meeting in Rio de Janeiro in 1942, where there was quite a bit of cooperation, but that was driven by the United States. And so for the most part, the U.S. dominated this. So if we mean that it was successful because the U.S. got their goals across, then yes. And it seemed to be the only ones that really truly benefited were the ones that could really benefit the United States. There was cooperation with the Latin American countries, but was that positive for them? Probably. I mean, a lot of the little countries in Central America and the Caribbean, they cooperated quite a bit, but did that actually help those countries? It actually, the war actually kind of, although it helped Cuba with its sugar and helped some other countries sales-wise, there were shortages, there were problems as well. And for Argentina, there definitely was no cooperation, and it didn't benefit them, and it wasn't successful for them. So we have to look at the level in which the nation cooperated. I mean, if you say cooperated, that they really got involved in the war, really supported the United States, then you would have to judge whether that's truly the way it happens. I also want to highlight it's important to look at that logical critical commentary, especially when you're working tomorrow. Remember that this pattern suggests, so the pattern of cooperation, this pattern can suggest this, can suggest this. This is unusual because, so for Argentina, the economic cooperation was unusual because of the way they politically went against the United States.
We have a cookie purchase.
All right, now I have to grab my bag.